And can we see the book that you took your oath on?
Right here.
And so you took your oath on this book, Too Many Moose.
Too Many Moose. This has a lot of sentimental value to me because this is my students' favorite book. This was the book that my students always wanted to read from, and it does have great alliteration in it, so we're working all kinds of vocabulary and phonics types of skills when we read this.
That's Arizona's new school superintendent, Democrat Kathy Hoffman, explaining to me why she took her oath of office at her inauguration last week on a children's book. Probably a first for an inauguration. Hoffman's a former speech pathologist for Arizona schools. She might be able to help me out this morning. Now, Monday afternoon, the Capitol will be abuzz for the opening session of the legislature, kicked off by Governor Ducey's State of the State speech at about 2 p.m. Monday. One of the storylines for this session, a divided House of Representatives. Republicans have just a one-vote majority, 31 seats to 29 seats, after Democrats picked up seats during the midterms. How will that affect the work the House does for the people or to the people? Joining us, two leaders in the House of Representatives. TJ Shope of Coolidge, he's the number 2 person in the House on the Republican side, and House Minority Leader Charlene Fernandez of Yuma. Welcome to you both.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
I want to start with the interview I just did with John Myers about this Hacienda healthcare case. He talked about the need for legislation from you guys. What comes to mind? What should be done about this horrific situation?
Well, definitely. I think we're on the same page. There needs to be some accountability. We need to know what's going on. Obviously, extensive investigation. This is wrong on so many levels. We should have legislation that not only for Hacienda, but for every one of these contractors that we deal with, that we give a lot of money to. As you said, it's our taxpayer dollars going to that.
All right.
Yeah, I would just say the one that struck me the most in listening to the previous segment was the idea that there's no training of any kind of either noticing or any type of harassment or any of the sort. That's something, obviously, whether it's policy from the internally or whether it's something we have to do statutorily, I think that definitely needs to change, and something we'll definitely look into for sure.
All right, TJ Shope, I want to stick with you. A one-vote majority, is this a recipe for paralysis or a recipe for more bipartisanship than we've seen in past years?
I think it's going to be a six-pack of one and half dozen of the other, if you will. Look, I believe Ms. Fernandez and I have a very good working relationship. I think that there are members of both sides of the aisle that have good working relationships with other members. Most of our votes occur with a large majority, very little opposition. I think you're going to see that portion of it continue. Where we get bogged down in areas of partisan difference, I think that's going to be a little bit more of the same. But I do think that, in a sense, because of the 31-29, we go into it with the idea, you know what, we're going to have to maybe get some votes from the other side to do something. And I think we're going to see Democrats running bills that will probably have hearings and probably get some votes. We're going to see Republicans doing the same, and there's going to be folks on either side of the aisle that are going to be crossing over, and it's going to be exciting, I think, for you especially, Bram, because you'll be the one covering it.
Sounds like a real kumbaya session. Are you down with that?
Well, I don't know. That threshold is pretty low when he said about working with us. So even if they come over one time, that's going to be a huge step. But we don't want to. My caucus, we don't want to come in at the tail end. We want to be there at the beginning. We want to build legislation for Arizonans. Arizonans sent us there. They sent the 29 there. They sent a message. So we don't want them knocking on the door saying, we need 2 votes, we need 3 of your votes. We want them to come there at the beginning, and we want to work together on quality legislation.
One of the big issues still with us from last session, Red for Ed. The movement says they're not going away, and they've held out the threat of a strike or walkout if they don't get more money for schools. Not for pay this time, but more money spread to other workers and other classroom needs. Are you squarely behind them when they say we're ready to walk out until we get what we want?
Bram, when they came last year, they never came for higher pay. They came for more money for their schools, for their classrooms. They wanted smaller classroom sizes. They wanted certified, non-certified, all the support systems in Arizona that deal with children to get a raise in pay. It wasn't about just pay for teachers. So 20 by 2020 was not what they were asking for. And so yes, we're behind them. We need to invest in Arizona, and that means investing in public education.
Is that helpful when they start the session by saying, if we don't get what we want, we're going to walk out?
I don't see how that's helpful to either members in the legislature or parents out there that are sending their children to school. I do think the one thing that we do have to remember was that we have a burgeoning economy right now. The pay plan that was put in place has enough money to cover it. In addition to that, there'll be a significant increase in district additional assistance. I sit on a school board. Those dollars are used for the things that I believe that they're speaking about, and I know that that's where we direct our dollars in that sense too. So I think in the end, it'll be something that they have to justify to the parents, not necessarily to me.
All right, more to come when we come back. How these Republican and Democratic leaders plan to ram through a vote on protecting Arizona's water supply in just 2 weeks. Stay with us.